Hey folks, Michael Smikun here from Callagy Law. And we've been dealing with a lot of business owners who've been super challenged by what's been going on with the coronavirus, governmental shutdowns, businesses being ordered to shut down and things of that nature. And there's been this overwhelming demand from my clients and other folks that work with the firm asking a lot of questions related to what do we do now? What are going to be the impacts on my business? What do I have to anticipate? How am I going to pay my bills? And so, we kind of put this out there to the community and asked whether or not they would like some information. And so I was able to put together a couple of my partners to have a discussion related to these types of issues and potentially other issues. So I want to introduce you to Jeff Greyber, my partner down in Florida, tremendous attorney down in the space of insurance and commercial disputes. He's been practicing for 14 years. I'm going to leave you to talk a little bit about that, Jeff. But then we also have Brian Williamson, who represents our West Coast office in Arizona, Phoenix, tremendous in the space of commercial disputes, sees all types of issues, including these types of insurance issues as well. So I just wanted to bring them all together and let's get some certainty, let's get some clarity on some of these issues. Jeff, let me ask you a question, man. What's present for you with everything that's going on now?
Hey, Mike, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this video blog. What's present, Mike? What's present with just about everybody else in the entire world right now? A lot of uncertainty, a lot of sadness in some regards, concern, but I, despite all of that, have a very optimistic outlook as to this world's health, safety, fruits of their labor, the economy, which we're going to get into today in our topic and over the next few days of blog topics, and appreciate the opportunity to talk with everybody during these challenging times. But as the Marines would say, we will adapt and overcome. Everything's going to be just fine.
Amazing. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I am in Callagy Law's Boca Raton, Florida office, and I've been in Florida for about, the past 17 years of my life, but born and raised in the westernmost corner of New York, little city called Jamestown, New York, just south of Buffalo. I have been practicing for, I guess I'm in my 14th year. I have a small family down here that I cherish, my wife and my 2 kids. A lot of the family's still back in New York, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm a Western New Yorker by design, a Floridian by practice, and I've been at the legal rodeo for quite some time now. Including specifically the insurance world, which we'll get into in a little bit.
So Brian Williamson, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I got to say, I'm not immune to the concerns that a lot of people are sharing. Like Jeff, I have a wife and 2 kids, and want to make sure that they are safe and healthy. And I have concerns for the people in my community and my family. I was born and raised in California, so I have a lot of family back there, a lot of friends. And then I've been out here in Arizona for about 10 years. Love it, developed a lot of connections with people out here. And, there's a lot of people who are feeling very uncertain and very scared because of that uncertainty. And I think now is a time when we need to talk about why we still have confidence in the way that things are going to go, the way things are going to eventually turn out, and why, even though we are concerned, we do not despair. And I think that this is a great opportunity to do this. I'm really glad we were able to put this together because I think we have some good information for people, and we want to keep getting it out there and give people encouragement and some guidance.
Amazing. Well said. Thank you, brother. I guess, one of the things that people don't really talk about is, you have Washington, you have California, you have New York and New Jersey that have been particularly hard hit by the virus, relative to the rest of the world, not that hard hit. but pretty hard hit. You know, a lot of governmental lockdown, a lot of businesses being shut down, a lot of executive orders and things of that nature requiring curfews and these types of businesses to shut down, like gyms and venues hosting people more than 50. What's Arizona like now?
So Arizona, fortunately, hasn't been hit as hard as a lot of the rest of the country. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 known cases of the coronavirus, which is a lot less than most areas on the east and west coasts. So we are very fortunate so far, but that doesn't mean that precautions aren't being taken. I mean, we are suffering from the same toilet paper shortage that everyone else is experiencing across the country, and we are getting directives coming down from the Arizona Supreme Court regarding limitations on in-person appearances and trying to limit gatherings. So far as I'm aware at this point, no direct orders saying you cannot congregate in groups larger than 10, 50, whatever it may be, but that's probably coming around the corner here before too long, unless things take a dramatic turn for the better. So there's a lot of people who are hunkering down, who are getting ready, and there's a lot of people who are concerned. I was talking with a client earlier today who she and her husband own a small business, and the way she put it to me is she said, I'm very concerned because I have 20 families that I'm responsible for. Of course, referring to her employees and wanting to make sure that they're taken care of. And for people who are running or owning those small businesses, it's easy to forget, it's not just their employees, it's their employees' families. So you take 20 employees and multiply that out, you get 40, maybe 60 or even 80 people that they're looking out for. And so they're understandably uncertain and a little scared. And so I'm hoping that we can help guide them through this process and that it doesn't last too long. But I think that eventually we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to get better.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll add to that as well is in my experience that I've seen even in the last couple of days is the discussion of a lot of business owners, right? You have the employees on the one hand, but then you have a lot of business owners on the other hand that are going like, I need to provide for my employees. I need to make sure that I'm bringing in, revenues to pay payroll and to make sure that these families are being taken care of. Very little discussion about like, oh my God, how am I going to do? How is the business going to be profitable? It's more of a concern, this beautiful concern for the human beings that work for you. And I've noticed that across the board. And it's just really just this beautiful, this message that these business owners are actually sending out about wanting to support the people who work for them. So I join you in that as well, Brian. That's been my experience too. I guess, Jeff, what has been your experience with business owners and and the nature of their concerns?
Well, much along the lines of what you and Brian have already said. I mean, I don't think that the ramification on business is really all that different geographically speaking. We're all in this together. We're all facing the same sort of issues. I mean, Florida's restaurants, just like New Jersey and Arizona. Florida's event planning companies. I had a former client who was an event planning company call me just a couple days ago, very concerned about her firm and the employees' livelihood and getting through this. And we started to venture off into insurance and other options, which we're going to discuss here today as well. Former client in a South Beach hotel whose events are canceling one after another. Same thing as the event planner, but just the other side of the coin. Doctor's offices, doctor's appointments, people being concerned, rightly or wrongly, about being in hospital or ambulatory center, surgery center type environments. Let's not kid ourselves. Certain law firms, depending on what their niche might be. It's every business across the board, unless you're Purell hand sanitizer or Dial soap or Scott's toilet paper, I guess. We're all in this together, and it's not just the United States, of course, it's the entire world. But we'll certainly get through it. And it
is so interesting that even with everything that's going on in the world, and and the scariness and the uncertainty and the challenges, we could all find time to really laugh and point out the absurdity of people hoarding toilet paper, right? So I guess, look, let's go right into it and really start alleviating some of the business owners' challenges. Talk to me, Jeff, about how you approach this kind of situation. So you have, this is unprecedented, right? This pandemic, governmental orders that have shut down businesses, potentially for weeks, months, who knows? Like, where do we begin our analysis? Where do we begin to find answers for how we're going to make sure that our businesses are okay, that we're going to be able to pay our employees, that we're going to be able to cover our expenses, and we're not going to get clobbered, when 2-3 weeks goes by without any foot traffic or revenue being generated? Like, what do we do? Walk us through it.
Sure. There's any number of viable options, I suppose. And Callagy Law is going to be exploring those, as you know, Mike, but this is an announcement to the audience. We're going to be exploring all of the various options over the next few days, and in blogs like this, live Q&A sessions, written articles. But, I see probably the three most viable options, I would think. And I would say in this order, I would suggest would be insurance. Does your business's insurance policy afford coverage for what's called business interruption, which businesses are all experiencing and will continue to experience till gosh knows how long? I suppose viable option number two, and I'll defer to some of my Callagy Law colleagues over the next few days of blogs and whatnot, would be turning to the federal government for assistance, such as the low interest SBA loans that the president announced a few days ago. Maybe then turning perhaps to getting employees who have unfortunately experienced a layoff, the paycheck that the president promised would be available through the federal government. I would think that would kind of be the order. You explore the protections you already have in place. Insurance. You then turn perhaps to the SBA loan to get your company and your employees through it with no layoffs. And then I suppose only if you had to get into the regrettable layoff circumstance, you would look into getting your employees the next paycheck with the assistance of the federal government.
So you have your planning,
it'd be insurance.
Plan C. So tell us about Plan A. Let's focus our attention on that today.
Yes. So I think, as I said at the start of this video, I'm in my 14th year in practice. I'd say 97% of that has been insurance over the years, whether that's property insurance, health, life, disability, marine, commercial general liability, businesses, anything, you name it. So on the insurance front, we really had to look for you. I say we because Callagy Law, we do our intake analysis. Folks, we assess whether or not there's insurance coverage. We assess whether or not we can help you with the Plan A before resorting potentially to helping you with Plans B, C, whatever. We do that intake analysis as a courtesy, free. There's absolutely no harm in picking up the phone or typing up an email. Businesses out there, distressed employees out there, to get our free intake analysis. And what I would start with is, look, we all know the surrounding factual circumstances right now. Got it. So I'll speak just from my perspective, although I want the audience to know there's several folks within Callagy Law that can do this, but I'll speak from my perspective. So the potential client calls me up, searching for this intake analysis. I say, well, Mary, or well, John, please promptly send me your insurance policy or policies, plural. I will immediately know where to go within that policy to look for whether or not you enjoy business interruption coverage.
And so can we just pause really quickly, Jeff? Like, what does that actually look like? What are they looking for? So if I'm sitting and I have my policy in hand, Like, what am I looking for to even begin to understand what you're talking about when you say business interruption insurance?
So at the start of your insurance policy, folks, you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 pages called declaration pages, your deck pages. Literally, look for the words business interruption or business income or extra expense called EE coverage, BI coverage or EE coverage. If you see those words within your declaration pages, there's a strong chance that whether in the primary insurance policy itself or an endorsement or a rider, that you're going to have business interruption coverage at the threshold. But the analysis plainly doesn't stop there. You would then turn to whatever pages your declaration pages identify to start reading about your business interruption coverages. You got to first look as to whether or not your business interruption claim can stand alone, or if it has to be ancillary or in conjunction with an underlying claim. So I'll give you a quick example.
And also explain it like I'm 5. So
that's what I'm going to try to do by way of the example. So, all right. Hurricane hits your business property here in Florida. Hurricane inflicts a great deal of structural property damage. In all likelihood, your structural property damage is going to be covered. So that would be the underlying claim that would trigger a business interruption claim while your business shuts down over the next X amount of months because the property has been nailed by a hurricane, or you get your insurance proceeds to repair the property, and then during the period of restoration, while you're fixing the policy, your business is still down or shut down, thereby triggering a business interruption claim vis-a-vis the underlying hurricane property damage claim. So first thing to look for, can your business interruption claim stand alone? Or do you need an underlying covered damage or loss of a different nature? Your underlying loss here at the lowest level of the proximate causation chain would be the virus itself. Okay, but what about if your business doesn't shut down or slow down because of the virus? No one's sick, everything's fine, okay? What if you have a civil authority, a governor, a municipality, what have you, step in and say, other than the essential of most businesses, you got to shut your doors, or you need to implement only 1/3 of your staff in at any given time. Whatever the case may be, has a civil authority instructed you to slow your business as a result of the virus? We would then say that the civil authority's instruction is your most direct cause of your business interruption. So, you know, after you've assessed that, and that's important, folks, because under a lot of policies are going to exclude anything and everything relating to a virus, and business interruption would be no exception. Okay, so on the other hand, a lot of policies will cover damages or losses flowing from a civil authority instruction or a law or an ordinance or whatever. And then some jurisdictions will, beyond that, then you look to the law. Some jurisdictions, and we practice all throughout the country, and I'm licensed in like 25 jurisdictions throughout the country. Some jurisdictions will say, no, you trace it all the way back to the virus. The virus is your threshold loss, excluded, including business interruption. Other jurisdictions will say what I'm saying is, no, actually the civil authority instruction intervened. It wasn't the virus itself that slowed or shut down your virus. So you respect the coverage for the BI because you're covered for the civil authority instruction. I could give a few more examples in this vein, but believe it or not, I am trying to stay somewhat brief. And that's tough for me, folks. I like to talk. Doesn't any lawyer, I guess, right? So let's say that you've read your deck pages. You've got business interruption coverage. Fine. Let's say that you can either make a standalone business interruption claim, great, fine. Or if you need to look to an underlying loss and your policy in your jurisdiction will allow you to classify that as civil authority covered as opposed to excluded virus, okay, great. So you're moving onward and upward. You would then next look to your policy to assess whether or not there's anti-concurrent causation language out there. Some policies, some jurisdictions will say, if you've got a business interruption loss that's been triggered by two things, the virus and civil authority. I'll keep using this as my example. Virus excluded, civil authority not. Okay. Depending on how your anti-concurrent causation language reads or the legal jurisdiction that you're within, some will say that if any portion of your two-pronged causation chain is excluded, you lose coverage for everything. Other policies and other jurisdictions will say that the converse. If some of your causation is covered, like the civil authority stuff, but some of it's not, like the virus stuff, okay, whatever, fine. Your business interruption is covered. You then need to, if you've cleared all of these business interruption coverage analysis hurdles, and again, myself, Callagy Law, here to help you with that analysis for free. You then had to start turning into, how do I document my business interruption? How am I going to preserve this business interruption claim? How do I even put in a claim properly with an insurance company? These are all things that I can discuss a little further into our presentation if that's where you take it, Mike, as the moderator.
Yeah.
But these are also things that Jeff Greyber and Callagy Law can help the potential client with as well. There's a lot that goes into the analysis, but bottom line, folks, please, before you resort to other plans, see if there's something to help you by way of insurance that's already in place for your business.
Gotcha. So just to kind of boil it all down, when first of all, if people can't get their hands on their policy, they have no idea where it is, what's the quick route for them to go ahead and get a copy of their policy?
Okay, probably the quickest route, although the insurance company is absolutely obligated to give you folks a copy of your policy. But
which is important, right? Which is important when they start pushing back.
Yeah, insurance companies are, well known for delay. The longer they hold on to monies, you're not going to know if you're entitled to monies until you get your policy. So the longer they hold on to the policy, the longer they hold on to monies, the more money they make on the money they're keeping from you. So although the insurance company is absolutely going to be legally obligated to supply you with a copy of your insurance policy, and by the way, I would ask for a full certified copy of your policy, cover to cover, with all endorsements, any and all riders, for the policy period in effect right now.
Yeah.
Not fragments of renewal paperwork, the full thing right now. But folks, quicker probably is your broker or agent. If you've secured your insurance at the threshold through a brokerage firm or an agency firm, they can often be quicker to give you a copy of the policy than the carrier. And folks, a lot of it can be found on e-portals now. So you can log in with some of your identifying customer information and perhaps just print out your policy.
100%. So thank you for that. So what I heard you say is that there's two things that you really need to be looking for in your policy. The first is what is excluded, right, versus included from your policy. And in this instance, a virus or a pandemic could be excluded, but maybe not, right? But even if it is excluded, right, like a virus is excluded, if your business is actually being harmed by a civil order, for example, in New Jersey, the Bergen County executive ordered all businesses and offices, office buildings, non-essential staff to shut down their businesses. And it wasn't a virus, but the actual order of the Bergen County executive, then in certain jurisdictions, that would be considered the cause. And if that's included in your policy, you have coverage, so long as prong number 2, which is this analysis about the anti-concurrent causation issue, which is it one cause Is it two causes? And if it's two causes, does the policy allow where there's one covered and one uncovered for coverage in that situation? Is that a fair distillation of a very complicated issue? I'm just trying to boil it down for someone trying to understand it for the first time.
You've captured the primary issues, and for our audience out there, yesterday you'll find on blinded websites, Callagy Law websites, we posted an article which kind of kicked off this series of how to help your businesses in this time of struggle. And some of these key words, these key phrases that Mike is mentioning and that I discussed a few minutes ago, they're captured in that article. So you don't necessarily have to be frantically taking notes right now.
We'll link it. We'll link it to the video as well so they can access it quickly.
But I will say this. I mean, while those are your primary issues, it's going to be a typical lawyer answer here, but it's so true. Case by case,
Yep.
Jurisdiction by jurisdiction, insurance policy by insurance policy. You know, a lot of people are going to think that this is just excluded straight up because it's a virus. No, not necessarily.
What do you say to those people? And who are those people who are saying that?
First of all, I would say that the industry, the insurance company side of the equation are the ones that are saying that. I'm sitting here saying, okay, maybe for 5 out of 10 policies or 6 out of 10 policies or 7 or 8 out of 10 policies, okay, what if you don't find coverage? Well, then Callagy Law is going to help you with other options. But guys, for the 2 or 3 policies out there, and you're talking every single business in the world, really, there's going to be some insurance coverage out there. And I think, frankly, it's foolish for anybody to take a carte blanche extreme position in telling you don't bother to look into it. Guarantee you you're going to get shut out. No. I know where to go quickly in these policies. Callagy Law knows where to go quickly in these policies. We've given you the highlights as to where to go. Spend 30 minutes, spend an hour, see if that's there for you before you move on to other stuff. Don't trust what other people, and in particularly your insurance company, are telling you on that. Look into it.
Well, Jeff, let me ask you a question. So what's been happening recently with legislatures in different states and how they're looking at issues of business interruption, insurance policies that do exclude viruses? Like what is happening that you've seen and what could be happening in the near future?
Well, that's an interesting question, Mike. And, you know, I know for the audience, one of my jurisdictions of licensure is New Jersey. And New Jersey just put forth a proposed bill. I believe it was on the legislature's floor for consideration a day or two ago. It may have been abated or maybe taken up here in the next day or two. We're keeping our eye on where that goes. But, you know, that proposed bill in the state of New Jersey, for example, was saying, hey, even if the business's insurance policy excludes a virus or disease or whatever, and there's not other ways to find coverage, such as looking at it from a civil authority instruction or something like that instead. Well, forget that. Retroactive back to March 9th, for any business that had a policy in effect at the time of this coronavirus stuff, your virus exclusion is null.
And what does that mean then if that happens?
It means that you're going to get business interruption coverage straight up. You're not going to have to go through the complicated coverage analysis necessarily that I just outlined. And, you know, I think it's a wonderful piece of legislation. I think other jurisdictions, states and federally, are probably or should be following suit quickly here. Yeah, so the state of New Jersey, I think under my research, is the only one right now pushing for this. But it would be an excellent piece of legislation, and it would go back to Insurance 101, which is, if ever an insurance contract says something repugnant to the law, the contract is reformed to comport with the law. And so if New Jersey puts that law on the books saying that the business interruption as a result of coronavirus is going to be covered, and sets it retroactively to a week or two ago, the world is going to be in good shape. I would strongly encourage anybody of a legislative background out there listening, or anybody with legislative connections, or even just talk to your local politician. Look to the state of New Jersey for some guidance. Look at that draft bill. I think we should link that draft bill potentially, Mike, to this as well. We pulled the text so other folks can start to look at following suit.
Yep, 100%.
It needs to happen. This is serious, and insurance companies are a form of public trust. They are, by definition, a pooling of your money to cover folks in these times of need. And I think the state of New Jersey was looking for a way to balance that as well.
Yep.
So don't quote me on this, folks, but something to the effect that if business insurance companies need to pick up the tab on this now, because we reform the law, let's spread the insurance industry's exposure out over any other number of insurance avenue mechanisms, so that the public pool, the sharing of premium monies is spared, really, but in this time of need, just allocated to where it needs to be.
Beautiful. So Jeff, let me ask you this question, because you had opened the door for it, but I want you to go really quickly on this. Three things, right? Three things that any business owner should be doing right now to be documenting their business losses to support a claim for business interruption, if their policy supports it, or if there's some other mechanism, such as, the state or federal government passes a law requiring insurance companies to provide business interruption insurance, even if there's an exclusion that would otherwise prevent it. Three things. What can a business owner do right now to protect their claim?
Okay. Three things. Let's go with, there's no priority to this. Most businesses maintain P&L sheets, profit and loss statements. Folks, whether it's a profit and loss statement or any other number of things, saving invoices from measures that you've had to take, things that you've needed to buy, banking statements, proof of loss statements, document starting right now. And in fact, go back as quickly as you can and pull these materials, because in a business interruption claim, the carrier is going to need to look at, how was your business before this? What kind of monies were you generating before this? And it would behoove you to go many months or many years back with that. You got to show how lucrative your business was before the coronavirus spread in the United States. You got to show how many employees you had hired before. And then you keep up with that paper trail as this all evolves. Go back a year or two, start it there, show how your business was performing, and then boom, coronavirus comes along, and then you're going to be documenting for the next X amount of months or Y amount of years your P&L statements to show how on the curve you plummet during these times, regrettably.
Amazing.
Your business interruption claim, I would submit, is going to end when your curve comes darn close to being back to where it was before the loss. Moreover, the next piece of things, always, folks, if you're communicating with an insurance company or you're communicating with an insurance agent or broker, especially if that's a captive agent, in other words, an agent that works exclusively for the insurance company, does not broker several insurances for several companies across many clients, you need to be keeping a paper trail of any and all communications that you're having with your carrier, your brokerage firms. If it's not in writing in the insurance world, the old saying goes, it never happened. The next thing that you might do, I think that you need to capture any and all evidence within the community, because your carrier, who may be situated in Timbuktu, is going to need to see where your exact community was situated, what you were feeling exactly within that community. So whether it's newspaper clippings or internet printouts or whatever, what's happening in your community? How many folks have been infected? Has your community declared, like Bergen County, a shutdown or a partial shutdown? All things to prove your business interruption claim that's happening to you right now, but you may not get that claim in for another week or two, and the insurance company may not adjudicate that claim for some time thereafter. So already be thinking about, how do I prove my claim right now? You get your materials going back to your business when it was healthy, literally and figuratively.
Amazing. So I just want to thank you so much, Jeff, for your expertise and your time. I want to thank you, Brian, for your expertise and your time. And because of the amount of the demand of information, we will be back. We'll be bringing a part 2 and part 3, talking about Plan B and Plan C, as Jeff talked about. And I anticipate having a gentleman or a couple of people available to talk about SBA loans, talk about short-term financing, even people who are on the softer side of hard money lending, anything it takes to get funding and financing for your businesses, and then also talking about the impacts on your employees and what in the short term are solutions that are available to employers and employees to protect themselves and make sure they have income coming in so they can take care of their families, take care of themselves, and just globally be able to be well and safe in this very, very crazy and uncertain world right now. So, gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and we will be back.
Thank you. Stay safe and healthy, everybody. Be well.
Bye, folks.